So my name's oh. So my name is Blair Hyde, and this is Sandra Novak, and we both work in the mental health program at Jewish Child and Family Service. It is out of this program that we recognize the need for increased self-care awareness and activities during the pandemic to maintain good mental health. This session is the first of the series of self-care programming we will provide. We would like to thank the Jewish Foundation of Manitoba for providing grant funding to bring this workshop to all of you. And next, we would like to acknowledge the land that we are located on Treaty 1 territory, the ancestral lands of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Dakota, Dene people, and the homeland of the Métis peoples. We acknowledge the results of colonialism, systemic oppression, and racism, and support the implementation of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's calls to action.
So before we give the spotlight to Henrietta, we want to mention a few housekeeping rules. First, please keep yourself on mute during the presentation. If you have any questions, you're welcome to type them into the chat. We are going to leave some time at the end for Q&A. At some point in the presentation, we will be doing a short exercise. If you'd like to participate, you will need the pen and paper. And if during the presentation you're feeling uncomfortable with the material, you're welcome to direct message us to leave the session or to take a break. We have a limited number of self-care kits available for distribution. They include items to help you continue your journaling story, as well as Henrietta's award-winning book. We are going to randomly select names of those of you who live in Winnipeg. And if you are interested and like to participate in the draw, please let us know in the chat. Identify yourself in the chat. Last but not least, it is our pleasure to introduce you to our speaker, Henrietta Ivanans. We'll let her do the honors of introducing herself in more detail now.
Thank you. Hi, Sandra, and I'm good. Gotta get rid of myself and see all you guys. Hi, thank you, Blair, and thank you, Sandra, for having me today. My name is Henrietta Ivanans, and I'm just going to go ahead and before I say anything about myself, I'm going to share screen. And this is what I'm sort of planning to talk about today. I hope you guys can see that. I'm going to tell you a little bit about who I am. I'm going to then tell you a little bit about how I started writing actually quite later in life and how it has profoundly changed my life, the tool and the skill of writing. I'm going to have a little disclaimer. And then I thought we could all do 1 minute of meditation to really get centered and enjoy the tools, hopefully, that I'm going to share with you that might be helpful to you in your daily life. I'm going to talk about morning pages today, which some of you might be familiar with from the book, The Artist's Way. The power of a gratitude list, the power of gratitude in my daily life. And we'll do, like was mentioned, a group exercise together. I love these two next tools, which are sporadic tools. The first two are daily tools that give me a lot of peace of mind and clarity and change my perspective. But then I want to also speak about a couple of tools you can do at any time to cultivate self-care and self-love, the Unsent Letter and a letter to yourself. And then hopefully we'll have some time for questions and answers. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the share right now. And so first of all, just quickly about me, I was born in Toronto. I call myself Los Angeles raised, and I now live in Winnipeg with my husband. We've been married for coming up on 27 years. I have worked as an actress. I'm also a professional author. And the thing I think I'm the most proud of in my life is that I have 8.5 years of sobriety, recovery through the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. And it is a really big part of my life. And it is a spiritual program, and it is very much how I see my life today through what I've learned there. And I will be sharing the spiritual components of what I've learned with you guys today. And yes, I am an author. I have written a book that has done really well. And the reason that I like to speak about that is because I'm completely self-published, and anybody, I did this much later in life, and anybody can start a new tool and take it to places you never dreamed of. So just the history a little bit, couple minutes about my writing. I actually, for many years, was not a big writer. or journaled a lot. When I was very little, 13, I wrote a short story that ended up winning a contest. And then for many, many years, I didn't write very much. It's a very curious thing that it's become such a huge part of my life today. But when I had my first kidney transplant, I didn't mention that. I've had 2 kidney transplants, one when I was 19 and one when I was 42. And my donors were my mother and my husband. I'm extremely fortunate. But when my first kidney transplant went into rejection, this was back in 2008, and it was a period of time where blogs were becoming very popular. And I don't know why. In fact, I should have asked my husband this today, but I think I had a friend who had started a blog, and she had been diagnosed with cancer. And I was incredibly moved by her ability to speak so clearly and honestly about what she was going through. And I started to write a blog as well. And admittedly, at that time, my addiction to prescription drugs and alcohol was escalating. But I found it, the process of sitting down with whatever medical information was new, whatever I was feeling, just having that channel, that place to put everything into and process it and see it on a page, albeit a keyboard, was incredibly powerful for me. It was very empowering as I progressively lost more and more things in my life, as I started to feel more and more out of control with my life. And this is not to say that you need to share your work with anybody. This was just something that resonated with me. And what started to happen was I did have it on a blog, and I did share it, some of it on social media. But what would happen is I would every now and then get somebody private message me and say that they related to what I was feeling, whether they thought they were maybe having issues with alcohol or they were dealing with chronic illness. And it was a connection I had never experienced before. And that's one thing that I want to mention is the specificity with which, if you're going to start writing, the more specific you can get about your feelings, the more specific you can get about the emotion. That's where the connection is with other people. You know, if I say something like, I feel like I was a bad wife today. Well, what does that mean? That doesn't tell me anything. But if that could be anything from, I didn't walk the dog today to, I've buried 18 bodies in my backyard of men that I used to sleep with. That's what's going to help me. That's what's going to help foster connection between us, is the specificity. And that was something that I really started to cultivate, was the more that I allowed myself to go deeper into how I was feeling and write it on the page, the more connection I found, not only with other people, but with myself, about how I was really feeling. And it was very, like I said, very, very empowering. So, okay, I'm just gonna, I'm gonna move into the disclaimer. And then basically what happened in my writing life was I continued to write. I wrote when I went into rehab. Every night I wrote a piece of writing. And again, it became a very necessary and vital tool for me. It was a safe thing. It was a thing that I could lean on, that I knew was there for me, that I could count on, that even if it was just between me and myself. And then I went to class at UCLA, and then I started writing my book, and it was just tiny little steps. That's how we get these things done. It's just tiny little baby steps, one at a time. So the disclaimer today is simply that I am not a therapist. I want to make that really clear. I'm not a professional, but I've learned a lot about emotional regulation, about finding serenity in my life, about finding gratitude, and changing my perspective on things through writing. And so that's what I'm offering you today, is my specific experience. So we're going to go into, and I do want to say this, when I was extremely sick when I went into rehab and got sober. And it's impossible for me to talk about anything in my life now today without mentioning the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, but just 12-step programs in general, because they really are about fundamentally just getting honest with yourself, cleaning up things that you have done, and then finding the joy of living. I mean, that's truly what the 12 steps are about. And like I said, it's really impossible for me to share anything now with you guys without looking through that lens. And I'm truly grateful for it. There's a lot of people that identify as grateful alcoholics, which I've always, initially I kind of struggled with that idea, but it's because I have a different way of looking at life today. So it would be remiss of me not to mention that. But there's fundamentally within the 12 steps, it's about work. And that is where the change is. That's where creativity, which is change, which is a new way of looking at things, that's where it's cultivated. It's just in being willing to do some work. And a lot of what we do is pen to paper or finger to keyboard. And there's power in that. So I'm going to first talk about, well, actually, I'd like us all to just quickly let's all do 1 minute of meditation. So if you would like to, just close your eyes and take a few deep breaths. Just in and out through your nose. Just feel your heart slowing down a little bit. And just feel yourself filled with gratitude that we can all be here today for a few minutes and find willingness to do something new. I'm filled with much gratitude that you're all here today. And hopefully what I can offer you something that you can take home with you today. All right. Okay. So first I'm going to talk about morning pages, which if any of you do not know about this book, it's on my list, and there's going to be a PDF that you guys can take home with you today. This is a book called The Artist's Way, and you do not need to be an artist to get anything out of this book. It really is about, like I mentioned already, cultivating your creativity within yourself. And it's about honoring things within yourself that maybe we've lost sight of. Truly, it's about connecting with ourselves again. And she has an extraordinary wisdom and insight to human nature that I suggest anybody pick this up if they're looking at deepening a connection with themselves and with other people. She has two main tools that she talks about. One is the artist's date, which is taking yourself on a date, which I'm not going to talk about today, but I highly recommend doing this as a way to find connection with yourself, doing something you love and giving yourself permission to do that. But she talks about a tool, a skill that you cultivate called morning pages. And essentially, she even describes them herself as, let me find this, an apparently pointless exercise, because what you do with morning pages is ideally you're supposed to do them before you even have time to get that hamster wheel in your brain going, before you even had a cup of coffee. You roll out of bed or you sit up in bed, you have a notebook and you just write stream of consciousness, 3 pages and until it's done. And if you can't think of anything to write, you just write, I can't think of anything to write. Now, why would we do something like this? And I think, well, I'm going to read what Julia Cameron believes, but it is for me, when I do it, it is that unblocking of that channel. I think, sorry, I'm trying to get the light away from me. That channel that locks me from seeing things differently, that locks me from connecting with others, that my initial worries when I first wake up in the morning and they just clog my brain, my fears that something isn't going to go my way today, my anxieties, all of that kind of clogs up this channel here. And when I give myself permission to simply write for however long it takes, it's like an unclogging of that. And it is a way, it's like unconscious journaling. It is so incredibly powerful because you don't have to put any pressure on yourself to write well. There can be spelling mistakes. You can repeat the same sentence over and over and over again. It's simply not the point. The point is to just get out of your own way so that you can be open to what the day is going to bring you. So I'm going to read you a couple things that Julia talks about because it's incredibly valuable. So although occasionally colorful, the morning pages are often negative, frequently fragmented, often self-pitying, repetitive, stiltish or babyish, angry or bland, even silly sounding. Good. This is what we want. We want to just get rid of all that stuff that trips us up. And here she talks about what we have inside of us, the judgment that we often impose on ourselves that gets in our way. She talks about it as the censor. We feel we never do enough. I can certainly relate to that. And what we do isn't right. We are victims of our own internalized perfectionist and nasty internal and eternal critic, the censor, who resides in our left brain and keeps a constant stream of subversive remarks that are often disguised as the truth. And isn't that the truth? I mean, who doesn't have that voice in their head that's tripping them up, that's stopping them from their dreams, that's slowing them from their goals, that's creating issues that don't exist. And when you give yourself permission to let that out and write that out on paper, it is amazing what happens. It really does unclog that. And then I will just say this. Okay, when people ask, why do we write morning pages? I joke, to get to the other side. They think I'm kidding, but I'm not. Morning pages do get us to the other side of our fear, our negativity, our moods. Above all, they get us beyond the censor. Beyond the reach of the censor's babble, we find our own quiet center, the place where we hear the still small voice that is at once our creator's and our own. So I think that is enough about that, because what I'm going to do quickly is just tell you about a couple experiences that I've had with the morning pages. Well, not that recently, I guess about a year ago, I fell down the stairs and I was feeling really, really stuck. I was really trapped. I was carrying my old basset hound down the stairs and I completely trashed my ankle. And so I was stuck on the couch in a boot for about 4 weeks. I was literally stuck and I was creatively stuck. And I had mentioned it to a girlfriend who's also a performer. And she said to me, why don't you write some morning pages? I had been really, really stuck on where to go forward with my next book, what my next book should be about. And I cannot even tell you how powerful it was, because all of a sudden I wrote for, I don't know, a couple of weeks, and it unlocked what I was trying to say. And it gave me focus. It cleared out all of the stuff that I was doubtful about. And it gave me clarity on the new direction that I wanted to go in. And it was, it sounds almost too good to be true, but it really is what I have found in my life through developing myself and taking care of myself and trying to be open to a new way of life. What I've really found is everything is just tiny little actions. That's it. It sounds like, oh, why would I bother doing that? You really have to try it as an experiment. There's no other way. Like, it really is just the simplest things that we do that build up not only the unlocking of the channel that I've been speaking about, but self-esteem. When we show up every day and we do something differently every day, I know for me, that makes things, it empowers me in a way that I used to, there were years ago when I was first struggling to get sober, that it was really hard for me to just do the most basic things. So for me, just doing these little actions that don't seem to amount to much actually can be incredibly transformative. So, and what has happened for me as a result of this type of writing, and I'll just talk about this for one more minute, is that stream of consciousness writing there's such freedom in it. And that is actually how I write the first draft of any book or any piece of writing, I should say, is because I can write one verb after another verb after another verb. I can, like I said, I can write badly. It doesn't matter about punctuation. I can make up words. It really doesn't matter. There's a freedom in it that, that again, empowers you. There's just nothing there's no rules. And when there's no rules, it's kind of like jamming, when musicians are jamming, there's excitement there. There's something that we can build on there. And so that has been my experience of the morning pages and that type of writing. And I highly encourage you, it's unconscious journaling where I just really get out of my own way and be free. So the next tool I would like to talk about, which I've been doing for many, many years now, is the gratitude list. I'm going to try and share screen with you guys. Okay, there we go. So here's the gratitude list. 3 things. Okay, this is not exactly anything that's new to anybody. I'm quite sure gratitude and the value of gratitude has been around forever. But I have been doing this with a number of women for many, many years now. And my gratitude list entails 3 things that I choose to identify as being grateful for. 3 things I think I did well. My mood. I also like to write if I called anybody that day. What I feel I'm powerless over. And where I think I saw God, which again, this is a spiritual workshop, no religion here. Where I feel like I had some kind of spiritual moment, some kind of connection, something that was meaningful to me. And the reason I love the gratitude list is, I'll be honest with you guys, I'm kind of a glass half full, empty. I'm glass half empty gal. So when I wake up in the morning, or when I'm in a particularly challenging period in my life, I've had a lot of health issues. I'm sure other people on this screen today can identify with that. I've had mental health issues. I've had physical health issues. And it's very easy for me to kind of go down that spiritual snowball, that rabbit hole, if you will. And what the gratitude list does for me is it's kind of like a spiritual spoke in that negative thinking. It stops me, because a gratitude list, I need to be mindful. I need to take some time and actually think about, okay, what are some, even though I may be in incredible pain today, physically, I may be in emotional pain today. And that may be really blocking out my ability to see things differently, to see that there's gratitude for anything in life. I mean, it can get very overwhelming sometimes when we're in the middle of a lot of things. And so what a gratitude list does for me, when I think of 3 things I'm grateful for, I have to get still and mindful. And I have to go really back into, like, sometimes you have to go really far back. Like, am I wearing clean clothes? Am I wearing clean clothes today? Do I have a washer and dryer that cleans those clothes? When my husband and I first lived in Los Angeles, we didn't have a washer and dryer. We went to the laundromat. There's nothing wrong with that. But sometimes it's good for me to remember, oh, that was a big old slog. So just identifying something like that, particularly things that I often take for granted. Like a couple of weeks ago, it was +2 degrees here in Winnipeg. That was pretty awesome. I was really grateful for that. And I went for a long walk and I was very happy. This is how I cultivate gratitude. And it is another opportunity to be mindful and get still with myself and truly connect to, like, what are the things that I feel grateful for? Who are the people that have touched me? The 3 things that I did well, that's really important, particularly for those of us, again, in vulnerable periods of time where we're struggling with some kind of illness, or we've just had, a loss, or we're in a depression, or whatever it is that we're struggling with. When I first got sober, it was incredibly difficult for me to do very basic things. I'll be honest with you. I struggled. I was a real animal for drugs and alcohol. And when I first got sober, I had to get 5 crowns done. And, for me in the beginning, it was like, oh, I brushed my teeth today. And this is how I build my self-esteem, is by identifying and writing down and seeing in black and white or on the keyboard with clarity, seeing these things that I feel like I did well today. We're so hard on ourselves, particularly women. We're really hard on ourselves. And this is a skill and a tool that really helps build my self-esteem. The mood it's a great tracker. I love the mood, because if I see over a few days or weeks that I've been sad or blue or frustrated or depressed, I can often look back at what am I grateful for, or what did I think I did well? And it can sort of, it's kind of resident of dialectical behavioral therapy. It's like, I can sort of track, well, is there a pattern there of things I'm not doing or was doing, and they're not bringing me joy? You know, what I feel I'm powerless over, that's for me, you know, I'm very aware of the fact I'm very powerless over most things. I mean, we really all are. I can control my attitude towards things in life. And when I identify what I feel powerless over, it's often, you know, I'm having a chronic pain flare up, things that I feel incredibly frustrated with. And again, I find it very, very empowering when I can identify it and see it and say it out loud. You know, it takes the power out of it a little bit. It diffuses it a little bit for me. It gives me a little of that power back when I'm feeling lost about something. And, you know, where I saw God, for me, it's anything from, you know, there were a number of years I didn't speak to my family during my alcoholism, and just texting with my niece or my brother texting me or calling me, you know, these are huge, beautiful spiritual moments in my life. And when I take the time to really identify those and take them in, to me, that's a spiritual experience, something that wasn't present in my life before, and it is present in my life today. So what I'd like to do is, I hope you all have some paper and a pencil, and I would like you guys to go ahead. I'm going to put it up on the screen. Again, share screen. I'm going to put up the gratitude list, and I would love for you guys to go ahead and fill out 3 things that you feel like you're grateful for. I can see there you go. 3 things that you think you did well, if you can think back on yesterday. What your mood is. And it often changes. And sometimes I have 5 moods within the course of a day. You know, the called is because I sponsor women in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I also find that an incredibly powerful tool, nothing to do with writing, obviously, but it is something that I can get out of myself and see how someone else is doing. And it's actually been absolutely proven that women, it's almost like a endorphin rush when women get on the phone and speak with each other and chat with each other. So I find that an incredibly valuable tool as well. What you think you're powerless over. Where are you frustrated? You feel you're powerless over your boss. You feel you're powerless over winter. That has certainly come up for me on my train recently. And then where you saw God. Well, for me, it's having this opportunity to speak with you guys today and have you being willing to listen. I'm very grateful for that. And that's very powerful for somebody who didn't have much of a life before. So in my alcoholism. So I think that might be enough time for everybody. And I would love to know if anybody would like to go ahead, if that's okay, Sandra. Is there anybody that would like to share with me? Or if you'd like a few more minutes, we can certainly do that.
Yeah, and you can unmute yourself and share too, or in the chat.
And even if you don't have the whole thing finished, actually, let me just, oh.
Hey, Henrietta, it's Joanne.
Joanne.
I did a little bit of the list, but I didn't finish, but I can start us off if you want. So I'm Joanne, and for grateful, I'm very basic because this is my first, so I feel I'm just doing the big picture, but I'll try to do like better picture later. But having a job, I'm really grateful for that. Yesterday, every day it sort of hit me that I'm really grateful to have a job because I see other people that don't, and myself as well. I'm substance free, so I'm sober, no alcohol, no drugs, and I'm happy for that. I just take prescriptions of what my doctor gives me, not someone else's. So sorry. So I'm very happy for that too. And I'm very happy for having a warm home. You know, and I don't mean just by temperature wise, but I have well, I'm single, but I have a cat and it's very cuddly and sweet, and my house just makes me feel happy. And so I'm very happy to have that. And what I did well is I've been having a hard time staying positive lately. So I actually, yesterday, I remember being, I stayed positive all day today, and I was very happy for that. So I wrote that I did that well. And I ate healthy. And that's what I have for that. Mood. I was very calm and positive yesterday. Sometimes I can get spun up, and I can also be very negative, and it's a daily thing that I have to work on. So that was my mood. I'm pretty sure there's more to that mood calling, but I'm not good at that. So that's a start. And I don't understand what the called was, but maybe you meant to call people, but I did call a couple of my gal pals yesterday. And outside of my regular calling my work people, that was something I did differently. And powerless, I found I felt powerless over other people's decisions, even though I did it, and I worked yesterday, had a successful day with working, but I realized that I can't make other people decide to do things just because I present them. And I fight with that a lot of times. If I present something, I feel like they should do what I'm presenting. So that's what I have for this. I hope that's what I needed to do. Thanks.
That was beautiful, Joanne. I'm so glad that I'm so glad to see you, and I'm so glad you did the exercise. That's it. Sometimes it's that basic. Some days it's just like, I am grateful to be sober. Sometimes it is that basic. Sandra, Blair, do we have time for one more?
Yeah, we have time for one more.
All right. Is there anybody Paige, would you like to? Yeah.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here. Hi, Henrietta. And it's so funny because I used to do the morning pages long ago. So I'm really happy to be reminded of them. So I'm grateful for Henrietta in this workshop today, and that I could find the link to sign in, because I was a little hairy that I was like, I can't find it. But I did. And to be at my mom's, I stayed here for 2 nights, and it's always just calming and wonderful. And my sobriety, absolutely. And did well doing this workshop, and organized my paperwork last night. Some of it, I have a lot, like I'm sure we all do. Showing up for myself today. And my mood, so glad that you have this list, Henrietta. It's really wonderful. Calm right now and grateful. I need to call people. When I just look at the powerless over, I at this moment, I just feel like everything, but that's not really the truth, because the power is my attitude and changing my mind. My power that I have is my mind, but everything else really have to let go. And where I saw God, my nephew called me right before this workshop, and that was beautiful. So anyway, thanks you guys. So happy to be here.
That was beautiful, Paige. I know it really is. Like it's so often what tends to come up for me in the gratitude is the connections. You know, I had lost my connections with so many people that I love in my life. And it really is less about, I don't know, the things, the money, this, the that. It really is, I got to talk to my sister-in-law for a few minutes yesterday on FaceTime. It really is those things. Sandra, Blair, one more, or should I keep going?
I'm
I
happy.
can do,
I'm enjoying it. So maybe we can do the last one.
All right. Is there somebody that would really like to share their gratitude list?
I'll do it.
Right on.
Gratitude. I'm grateful for another day of abstinence. I'm food sober for 15 months. I'm grateful to be here right now sharing with Winnipeggers. I go exploring everywhere because with my own community. I'm grateful to have a roof over my head and food on the table and be able to provide for my family. I'm grateful for my higher power. my higher power takes care of me. So for people who aren't in a recovery program, your higher power is anybody you want if you don't want it to be God. I can't find the list now. What I did well today, I attended meetings. I was honest with a total new group of people, and I said that I'm in a 12-step program. I'm in Overeaters Anonymous, I'm in Codependence Anonymous, and it's been life-saving. And I expressed vulnerability during a networking meeting, which created new relationships because everybody else became vulnerable. My mood is, it's cold outside, but it's warm inside. And I've called, messaged. I have my morning accountability call for my business at 6 a.m. and it gets my day off on the right note. So that way I can work in my business with my 12-step program, because without my 12-step program, I can't do my business. I'm powerless over food and my trigger foods and my codependency natures. And I saw God. My morning is my Voices of Recovery book. And every morning that I read my, it's like meditations, but every morning I read it, I can relate my own life to it. And I can connect. And it starts my day off in a very healthy way because my higher power is looking out for me every day.
Thank you, Gail. That's beautiful. Wow, it's just like overflowing. I love it. I love it. It is incredibly powerful, this tool. And together, well, one last thing about the gratitude list. You don't have to do it with anybody else. But I will say there is a shorthand. If you choose to do it with somebody else, you develop this wonderful shorthand with another person that you trust. It fosters accountability, because if somebody else is doing it with you, it's gonna not look so good if you don't show up for 5 days. And that's a really important thing. It was important for me to develop accountability when I'd lost it. And it is just a wonderful thing. It deepens your relationship with that person. I actually do my gratitude list every night with my sister-in-law, with the women that I sponsor, with my sponsor, and with a very, very dear friend. And I think if you feel brave enough to do that with one person that you trust, I think you would get, it would deepen the experience of a gratitude train for sure. So, so right on. I think that's all I want to say. By the way, for those of you that I saw in the chat, I was mentioning the Artist Way. I do have a PDF with everything that I have talked about so far and will be speaking about, and with 5 of my favorite books on writing and creativity. And so you guys will all have that list at the end of the workshop. Okay, so I am going to go on to the next tool. So those 2 tools combined on a daily basis, they're unconscious journaling, the morning pages, and then a conscious journaling at night. And if you use those tools every single day, everything expands for you. Gratitude, your perception changes, the channel clears, and whatever is in front of you for that day is only easier and lighter. That has been my experience. So one of the tools that you can use, there's 2 tools I'm going to speak about that you can use periodically. You can also do them every day if you need to, but hopefully you don't. The first one I'm going to speak about is what is called the Unsent Letter. And again, I am not a therapist. I was introduced to this tool in rehab, in treatment about whatever that was now, 10 years ago. as a tool, a way of grieving and saying goodbye to my drug of choice. Now, honestly, I don't remember a lot about that particular experience, but I do know that part of the reason they do that is it gives you, again, a sense of control, a way to process and let go of something that is on your heart and burdening you. And I actually had an experience about, it doesn't really matter, I guess, about a year and a half ago. And it was incredibly painful. It was a relationship I absolutely leaned on and loved. And I loved this woman. And I'm sure we've all had these experiences. You live a long enough life and, you know, things happen in relationships. And this woman just dropped out of my life. And it was extremely painful for me. And again, this is not about the 12 steps, but I did do my work that I needed to do on that particular fallout through a 10th step, which is, again, 12-step work. But it wasn't enough for me. I was carrying around a real broken heart, and it was suggested to me that I try that I write this letter. And what I have found is that, and what I have found along my journey of trying to live a more spiritual life and looking at myself and my behavior, is that when I wrote this letter, it started, and again, it's unsent for a reason, because it gives you freedom to do and write whatever you want to say, like honestly, like anything you want to say to this person, with the knowledge that you know you'll never read it to another person. You certainly won't read it to that person. It just completely unburdened freedom, like just infinite freedom. And it was extremely powerful. But what I have found is that often I am a bit of a hothead, and anger has been an issue for me. And initially, when I start to write this letter, it's all the stuff, all the hard done by stuff, all the anger, all the disappointment, you know, all that comes streaming out. But eventually, when I allow myself to really be honest with the experience of whatever that relationship was, I start to see that person as less of a two-dimensional issue or resentment, and my heart starts to soften, and I start to see them as a whole person, as a three-dimensional person. And it cultivates a bit of empathy, compassion, maybe even love for that person. It was the only thing that gave me some peace of mind and some freedom in that particular breakup of that relationship. And, you know, that is really for me, I'm just looking at my notes here, in case you're wondering why I'm looking away. That's really what writing has become for me. It is my thing. It is my tool. It is mine to, when I use it, to explore what's going on in me. And there's beauty in that. It's really infinite. How, you know, you've heard that saying, I'm quite sure, you know, we peel the onion. We keep looking at these layers of ourselves. And again, it goes right back to what I was saying earlier. The more specific you are in your writing, the more you will get out of it, the more will be revealed, the more those layers will come off. And it requires a certain level of honesty, an honesty that a lot of the times we've never, or I just speak for myself, I had never gotten still enough to be that honest with myself. And when I am that honest with myself, it's easier for me to see, oh, maybe this relationship had run its course, or maybe we really weren't the kind of friends I thought we were. But it's just simply that exploration, you know, not putting any expectations on it, but going into that letter and just allowing yourself to let it all out. And inevitably, I have found, like I said, there's a softening of my heart, and I can see that person as a three-dimensional person. So I love that tool. Okay, and then the final tool that I'm going to go ahead, I think I have it here, and read a little bit for you guys. I'm not going to speak too much about this one, but it is a letter to yourself. It's a letter to yourself. And again, I think therapists have used this tool. I would be surprised if they hadn't, but as a way of nurturing yourself, cultivating self-love, compassion for an experience you might have gone through. And this is one of my favorite pieces of writing that I ever wrote. It's not in my book. It's not in any upcoming books, but it was a letter I wrote to myself, to the 13-year-old version of myself. And during this period of time when I wrote it, it was about 3 or 4 years ago, I was in extreme pain, extreme physical pain. And thankfully that is just an issue that flares up now and then, but it was a shingles-like pain that ran through my body constantly, like an electrical current. Nobody was able to figure it out. It was crippling. It was excruciating. It was all I thought about every day. And it was a real struggle for me to stay sober during that period of time. So one of the things that I did, I'm just going to bring this up. Sorry, close your eyes if you want to get dizzy. So I'm just going to go ahead and read just a tiny bit of this. And this gave me incredible freedom over what I was going through. Over 2.5 years, you will see 3 dermatologists, your nephrologist, neurologist, an acupuncturist, allergist, immunologist, naturopath, and your transplant team. It is not autoimmune. It is not a virus or infection, not nerve damage, nor any skin condition any East-West doctor has ever seen. It is their nothing. It is your everything. It is chronic pain. The rash will disappear, as will your hope, but your invisible pain will persist. Fabric chafes your skin like sandpaper, as if thorns are poking up through your skin. You wear your husband's underwear around the house, and when the band snaps, you will hold it up with a clothes peg. It is ridiculous. It is your life. This pain will bring you to your knees. You beg for direction, abandoning yourself to something you have always believed in, but never been able to access. This source of strength will fill you up every time you ask. It will not kill the pain, but it will kill your fear. If only for a few moments, you call it God. Okay, and this was, like I said, it was something that diffused what I was going through. It felt healing. It felt like I had some say in what was going on with me. And it was a real love. It was an exercise in love for myself, because I felt incredibly alone at that time. And I highly recommend, it is just the most wonderful exercise to do that for yourself when you're walking through something that feels, particularly if you feel completely alone in it. And so I think we're coming up on probably where we should get into the question and answer section. And so I just want to go ahead and let you guys know, again, close your eyes. So yeah, just a quick takeaway. So from today, from chatting about myself and my writing life, the takeaways: you're never too old to try something new, to try these new tools. And the key is always to be willing, to be honest and specific. That's where the real healing comes. That's where the real growth comes, as specific and honest as you can get. Again, I am not a therapist. Change takes work. Change takes work. And it's always in these little baby steps. It's just these tiny little actions that we see growth and change over time and build our self-love. The morning pages, I like to call them a unconscious journaling to begin your day. Just it helps you get out of your own way. Get out of your own way. Give it into something or somebody else's hands. Your gratitude list is new perspective is cultivated, and it is a conscious journaling to end your day. Group exercise, again, like I just mentioned, self-esteem is built with regular effort. And the unsent letter, there's freedom. There really is freedom when we allow ourselves to sit down and be mindful and put that pen to paper. So simple, but we often just overlook the value of doing a little bit of writing and releasing those hurts and pains. And then a letter to yourself. You can give yourself that gift of love and compassion anytime. Okay, so I think I'll turn it back over to you guys. I know we're at 8 minutes too. Thank you guys so much. Thank you everybody so much. This has been like a true honor, really, to be here today.
Thank you, Henrietta. And now that you're done, we have a few more minutes. We welcome everyone that has a question or a comment about it, or if you wanna share a little bit more about the gratitude list that you made. Yeah.
Yeah, so if anybody has any questions, and if not, yeah, we'll just have maybe a few more people would like to share their gratitude list. So if there's any questions, please, I am an open book.
I just have,
Oh,
Go ahead.
Oh, I froze there. I would just, what I do beside the unsent letter is either a God jar, where you just put those thoughts in a jar so no one else sees them and you're giving them away. Or I've even been suggested to, and it's actually works, is you write it on toilet paper and you flush it down the toilet and then nobody knows it except for you. And then it's gone, but you've gotten rid of it. And it's just between you and God or your higher power. And that's it.
Those are great little tools too. Absolutely. Yes, absolutely, Gail.
And what I would love to see to come out of this, I'm just going to be totally upfront, is I would love to see a Winnipeg recovery group rather than everybody being through Jewish Child and Family Service. Because there are a lot of people out there who may feel more comfortable being in, I don't know if I'm stepping out of the boundaries here, but being vulnerable and knowing that it's not going to go past a Zoom meeting. Like a 12-step group, but if people haven't been working the 12 steps, I know there was one in the past through Jewish Child and Family Service, but if people on here are willing to get it off the ground again, I think that would be amazing for this community.
Hi, Gail. Thanks for the idea. We can definitely talk more, and I can pass that information to our management. But
Dorit.
I can contact you later by email.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I've been in touch with Dorit also, so
Okay.
I'm hoping between Henriette and Dorit and I and everything that hopefully that we can see something happen in Winnipeg. It'd be very nice.
I just want to say something, if that's okay. So I'm trying to see how this sort of relates to work that I do. And thank you, by the way, Henriette, for all these wonderful, self-care ideas and stuff. And there's something we do. I work in child welfare. I do adoption and foster care. And there's something we do a lot. It's called mapping. And we take a whiteboard and we make columns and we go, what's going well? What are you worried about? And what are your next steps? And I'm thinking we can easily apply this just to our own lives and not just to our cases, and say that what's going well in my life? What am I worried about? And how can I mitigate that? What would be my next steps to mitigate that so I can get to the point of things going well? Because we all have worries. We all have things that make us anxious and create angst in our life. And so if we want to get to the point where, and I'm visual too. I love looking at stuff rather than just thinking about it. I like to see, because sometimes with clients, they go, everything in my life is terrible, horrible, whatever. And then you ask them to list maybe one or two things in their life that are going well, even if it's, I got up this morning and ate breakfast, or I slept through the night, or whatever. It's amazing how people realize that there's more maybe good in their life than they realize. So sometimes writing things on these charts is a great visual exercise, and it can get you to the point where you can mitigate the things that aren't going well so that things will be going better for you. And I think that's a pretty good self-care exercise too.
It actually reminds me very much of, I did outpatient therapy for about 9 months after I had been inpatient for, with my alcoholism for 60 days. And there is something called dialectical behavioral therapy, which it reminds me of. We did these diary cards, and we would have targets that if we wanted to go from, for example, feeling anxious to just feeling more excited about my life, like that would be my target. And you had columns of things that you were trying to maybe achieve within the day to reach that goal. So it might be, read 3 pages of my big book, go for a walk, brush my dog, or whatever it was. And, in the beginning of recovery, it's for a lot of people, the very basic things are very, very hard to do. And what would happen is I would see how if I checked off a number of things within the course of a day, and if I'd had a good day, I would rate it. And then you could sort of chart, like I was saying about the mood. I don't know if I'm explaining this very well, but I could see if I'd taken a number of certain actions, my mood would often be stronger or more positive as a result of building my self-esteem. And there's something, I completely agree with you, that I loved about it, the visual of it, that initially I think that they were just pieces of paper that were given out to us, but I did mine on a big Bristol board because I'm alcoholic. I just had to do it bigger and better. But I loved the visual of it, of being able to see over time, if I did all of these things and checked them off properly, you know, that I had a better day or had a better experience. And because it was building my self-esteem. So I love that. Thank you for sharing that today. Oh, I'm pinned. Should we maybe just, doesn't seem like there's any questions. Is there one other person that would like to share their gratitude list with us today? That would be a lovely way to end. Don't be shy, anybody.
Okay, well, if you have any questions or comments, you can definitely contact us or Henrietta.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey,
Yes.
Henrietta, it's Jane.
Jane.
Hi.
Hi.
Good. When you were writing your letter to self, was that like the letter was in the past? Can you write a letter to your future self or what? Or how does it?
Yeah, absolutely. That particular letter, I wanted to write to a version of myself that had never known physical illness. And so that was when I was 13 years old. And then I was diagnosed with kidney disease and et cetera, and so on and so forth. So I wanted to write to a version of myself and write it in such a way that you will live through all of this, and it will be hard, but you will survive. It was a very, very hopeful letter that you're like, and it was also to remind me at that time that I had been struggling with so much pain during that period of time, to remind me of how much I had walked through and I was still here. And I think that's a really valuable tool for anybody going through something. So it can be any age, and for sure it can be your future self. You know, we often hear that question, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? Really valuable too. I mean, there's other tools we don't have time to get into today, but writing a list of my fears sometimes just takes the power out of it. Just seeing it on paper, it's not as bad as I'm making it out to be. I also love pros and cons lists, you know, just writing down everything that if I'm trying to make a big decision, you know, just writing down what I perceive as a positive about it and what might not work for me. There's such clarity in that, in the black and white. It just seems to lift off the page and really helps me make decisions. So anyway, that's my long-winded answer, but absolutely, you can do any version on any of these tools that works for you.
And I think sometimes even writing words on a page gets stuff out, like literally is cathartic, because you're like emptying and you're, you know, doing like that. Is it called empty your brain or something, or dumping, or, you know, things like that. That whole exercise of doing that is just pretty profound. So thank you so much. This was a lovely hour well spent. Thank you.
Oh, good to see you. Yes. So good to see you.
Yes, so once again, thank you, Henrietta, for this fantastic presentation. You've given us all a lot of different techniques to journal, and we're excited to put them to use. So we do also have some journaling resources we'd like to share with everyone by email, including the PDF that has already been shared in the chat. And so you should be hearing from us within the next couple of days. And yeah, as noted, this session was recorded and should be available on our JCFS YouTube channel. And yeah, you're welcome to watch it and share with others.
Yeah, just a quick reminder. Sorry, Sandra, I know you're going to speak, but my husband very kindly popped a PDF with everything that I covered today, including there's a list of 5 books, which I forgot to get to. They're my favorite books on writing and creativity. And I think they're also going to include it in the kit, right, that you guys are drawing. So having a draw for. So thank you so much, everybody. It was a wonderful, wonderful hour.
Henrietta didn't show in the chat. The PDF didn't show in the chat.
It's in the
Good.
chat, but we are gonna add it to the email that we will be sending between tomorrow and the day after. Yeah.
Okay,
they're gonna have it.
all I got here is, this is what Henrietta shared today, but then it didn't come through. Maybe because I'm on my phone.
Look under Kevin McIntyre, it says self-care.
No, I can see it. This is, Kevin says, this is what Henriette shared today, but then I can't see the PDF.
Might be because you're on your phone. That could be.
Yeah,
Might be.
probably.
Actually, just look up a bit. That's the last comment in the chat. If you go up a couple, it says Kevin McIntyre to everyone, self-care. He just put it in
Oh.
again for a third time. Yeah, so it's there. Just maybe scroll up a bit, but it will be in the kit. So
Okay, it's not coming through. It's because I'm on my phone probably.
maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we will send it by email, so you will
Okay.
get it. Yeah. And just a reminder to write your name down on the chat if you want to participate in the kit for those that live in Winnipeg, and we will notify you by email, and it will be available to pick up at the Asper campus. And we also want to thank everyone for coming. We hope you enjoy the program and that you feel more confident in your journaling, self-care. Yeah. Yay.
Yay. Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, you guys.
Pleasure. Have yourselves a great day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Henrietta.
Oh, Paige, great to
So
see you. Thank you so
Wonderful.
much.
Oh,
Love you.
thank you. I love you too. I'm excited.
Yes.
I don't know what, just
Well,
opening myself up.
that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
That's
I
what it
know.
is.
Great.
Do you still have your number from LA?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's still
That's-
the. Yep.
That's what you use?
Yep.
Okay, good.
It was too many contacts to change. So
Yeah, I know. I'll never leave mine, but
No,
so
I-
I texted you, so. we
Okay,
can
yeah,
talk
my phone's in the
anytime.
other room. That's
Yeah.
great. Yeah, let's chat. I'd love that.
I would love that. Okay,
Okay. All
I
right.
gotta go to the dentist. Bye, everybody.